And it's a prayer that we need to pray. I want us to think about this under the heading tonight, enough for today, or how much is enough? Give us this day our daily bread. What do we need? Well, we need enough for today. That's a pretty good place to start. Am I the only one that's hot in here? Have y'all seen my other jacket I found? I'm going to take it off because it's just warm up here. Greg, when you come back up here, don't walk on that, okay? Enough for today. Most of us want more than enough for today, don't we? We want enough for today and all of our tomorrows. But what happens when we get it? We frequently begin to forget about the God who gave it to us. Enough for today. Give us what we need for today. You remember the occasion when Jesus was standing by a well in Samaria and a woman came to draw water there. And Jesus spoke to her and she said, "How is it, sir, that you, a Jew, speak to me, a Samaritan?" And he begins to converse with her and tells her that if you knew who it was that was talking to you, you'd ask me for living water. Now, are you greater than our ancestors who gave us this well? They gave us this well, and we come here to draw. Are you better than them? I have water to drink that you know not of. Living water. Oh, give me this living water, if you will. Now, they're carrying on a conversation about two very important things. Jesus tells her, though, one is the idea of just water in itself. You have to have it to live. The other is the idea Jesus carries it a step further. This living water, this water you can drink and never be thirsty again. There's no such thing as physical water you can drink that way. I don't care how good that Gatorade stuff is. You're going to have to drink something again. Right? Our kids used to say, "I'm thirsty, Dad, I'm thirsty. Stop this car. Let me get something to drink. I'm thirsty." And being the sympathetic kind guy I am, I often said to them, "Sweat and lick your lips." Well, we'd have to stop and get them something, and guess what? We'd have to stop again for other reasons in a few short miles, and then they'd want to start all over again. "I'm thirsty. I need something else. Give me this living water that I would never, ever thirst again." We all want that idea of something more than we could ever need. Give us this day our daily bread is a confession that says, teach us dependence upon you day by day by day by day. Give me enough for today. It may also have in it the idea of, Lord, help me be faithful in my daily needs. How does God supply our daily bread? Did any of you get up this morning and God deliver it to your house like a divine milkman? Just sort of dropped it off without payment or without bill or without any effort on your part? Did it just kind of come that way? Even the food that you had in your refrigerator that's been there a while, my guess is you had to get up and pull it out and put it on a stove or put it in an oven. You had to cook it. You had to expend a little bit of energy. I'm quite the fine gourmet breakfast cook myself. And even the Pop-Tarts that I had yesterday had to be put in the microwave. Don't I work hard? It's important. Jesus says to the disciples in this same Lord's Prayer, or in this same Sermon on the Mount, about not to be worried about tomorrow because even the lilies of the field are clothed in more splendor than Solomon, and the birds of the air don't build barns, but yet your heavenly Father feeds every one of them. And yet He doesn't feed them without the birds scratching a little bit. My dad one day came in the room and said, "Rodney, get up, we got work to do, get up. The early bird gets the worm." And I said, "Dad, that doesn't work too well for the early worm." He wasn't interested in my logic at that point, and so wanted me up. Takes some effort even on the part of the birds, does it not? And if Jesus was saying to people, if He feeds the lilies and takes care of them and dresses them, surely He can provide for you. It's not a word that says we don't take any thought at all. It's not a word that says we don't do anything. It's a word, I think, that says we realize and know we're in cooperation with God. And we see it all the time. You can see perhaps the farmer who has the big equipment and they plow the 6 or 8 or 16 rows at a time, and we think, look at the marvelous automation and ingenuity of man to make the earth bring forth such abundance. And yet with all the John Deere equipment in the world, he can't make one thing grow if there's not life in the seed, if there's not moisture in the ground, if there's not fertility in the soil. There's nothing he can do about it. It's a partnership that involves the faithfulness and grace of God, and it also involves the ingenuity and the work, if you will, of humanity. Paul on one occasion will say to a group of Christians that maybe were thinking so much about the return of the Lord, they weren't getting ready for the next year's harvest. They weren't planning. They weren't getting ready. Paul says to them, if they're not going to work, don't let them eat. Now let me tell you something. That was not a word about welfare reform concerning poor individuals that are really down on their luck. This was a word about people who thought for spiritual reasons they had no reason to make any preparation. They needed to pray this prayer, give us this day our daily bread. And as long as we have breath, a part of what God's called us to do and to be in this world is in partnership with Him. How much is enough? Enough for today, enough to keep us busy, enough for us to be in partnership with what God is doing in His world. How much is enough? Enough to share, maybe. Give us this day our daily bread. This is not a prayer of an isolated individual saint somewhere in a closet who says, Lord, give me what I need for today. I'm not worried about any of those people out there. This is either the prayer of an individual that is aware of a world around him that is in need, and he's interceding before God on behalf of maybe some that don't ever pray to God, or else it is a collective prayer of a group of saints gathered together, maybe in worship, where they realize they have a missional responsibility to the world. To pray this prayer, give us this day our daily bread, is to say in essence, Father, I may have enough, but if my neighbor doesn't meet the need, and maybe he's going to meet that need through us. Sometimes our children get it better than we do. One year we were taking a World Hunger offering at our church, and the kids made banks, and the banks, that they would put their money in, their coins, and we were going to collect the money, and they told them some stories about poverty and about hunger, and we're sitting at the dinner table, and the kids just say, we got to take it now. They put their money, we got to take it now. We can't wait till the 3rd of June to collect it. They're hungry now. We got to take it now. Yeah. Give us this day our daily bread is a prayer that says, we've come to the place we understand that God is desperately in love with humanity. And His best means of meeting the need of humanity is through other humans. He wants us to be a part of it. Oh, God meets us more than halfway. There's a wonderful story in the Gospels. It's one of my favorite stories. It certainly was as a child, and you know the story well. Jesus had been preaching to a group of folks, and He put the disciples in a boat, and they were going to row over to the other side, and you know how the story goes. They get to the other side, and the crowd sort of followed around the lake, and there they are again. The crowd just keeps coming, so Jesus just teaches them again. He just keeps on teaching. By this time, they've walked around the lake, and they haven't made preparations, and the local Sonic had already closed down, and there were no more chips and hot sauce at the local Mexican restaurant. And in the midst of all this, Jesus turns to a couple of the disciples and says, y'all feed them.